Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
Wouldn't it be funny if Miss Henry had a wouldn't it be funny if Miss Henry had a wouldn't it be funny if Miss Henry had a wouldn't it be funny if Miss Henry had a wouldn't it be funny if Miss Henry had a wouldn't it?
Welcome to another episode of Drum and Drummer.
Drum and Drummer.
It's
episode
me, Ben.
20.
Episode 20, mate. I'm Ben Winty. That is George Pickering. Let's go. What you got, boy?
What do you mean, what have I got? Who have we
Dunno.
got? Oh, okay. Should we say what's happening today? It's another guest.
Yes, we got another guest on this week's episode. Yeah.
In case you haven't have already guessed.
Oh, good.
Josh Rowe.
Josh Rowe. Josh is this week's guest. Fun fact, he's not a drummer.
Yeah.
Fun fact too, he's not bald. That comes
No.
up in the episode,
Yeah.
but
We
don't
won't
worry about it.
Should just retell everything that happens in the episode.
Yeah.
And then you get to listening like, I've heard this.
Yeah.
Um,
We had a nice chat with Josh, didn't we?
we had a nice chat with Josh. Yeah.
We both
He-
know Josh.
Yep.
Both gigged with him.
Yep.
Lovely lad. And
Lovely lad.
we had a chat about what he does,
Yep.
how he does it,
Yep.
where he
His
came from.
aspirations.
Yeah, his hopes
You
and
know.
dreams.
Yep.
His deep, darkest secrets.
Mm.
Uh,
Stick around for that.
oh, it gets dark. Very dark.
Seriously dark.
Anyway, well,
Worryingly dark.
we'll just jump straight into our chat with Josh then, shall we?
Yep. Sounds good.
Here we go.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Mr. Josh Rowe.
Right, boys.
Just row your boat.
Yeah, I knew that was.
Couldn't wait to get that one in, could you?
Couldn't wait. No. That's me done now.
So let's just start off. Josh Rowe, who are you and what do you do?
I am Josh Rowe. I am a bass player and I am not bald.
Okay, right. Well, let's address that for starters.
I just wanted to get that one out. Sorry.
We've run out of drummer friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've had,
We had
one.
And now we're
That's it.
scrounging round in the rest of the rhythm section.
Yeah.
We found
Not,
ourselves a bass player,
not a deep bench.
not
No.
a deep bench.
Um,
Brentford or something. I'm
Probably
assuming their squad's smaller than most Premier League
fairly
clubs.
shallow. Yeah.
Fairly shallow.
Yeah. So I play bass. I know both of you through music.
Yeah.
George plays occasionally for my band and
Ah.
I have recorded at your studio.
Yes.
And I run a studio in a little place called Gosport, which, for those who don't know, is
Across the
sort of
pond.
the skid mark of the south coast.
Come on. That's out of order to skid marks, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Smokestack Studios, and that's where I am recording from now.
Lovely.
Nice. Should we talk about how we met? And then we
Yeah,
can talk about how
that'd be
you and Ben
lovely.
met?
Yeah,
So I heard about a band called the 505s, and I was like, that's a good name because that's an Arctic Monkeys song. And then it was I got asked to play for you guys at a gig, and the manager Neil, who we'll talk about a lot on this podcast, he was like, "You'll love Josh. He's hilarious." And what was funny is I got the names mixed up, so I was chatting to Sam, thinking I don't even know if I told you this. Chatting to Sam, thinking he was you. And I was going, I get on with him all right. But this other guy, Sam, he knows the office really well. And then I was like, I got it the wrong way around. But we had a great gig. I can't remember where our first gig was, but
it was in London,
it was in London. Yeah.
and a particular highlight of that gig was when we were setting up. There was there was a bad plug socket at the back of the
Yeah.
wall, and Sam happened to have his amps plugged in.
Yeah.
And every time we went to the mic when we were sound checking it, it gave him a little belt
Yeah. And I felt for him because,
because we didn't really care.
didn't really help.
didn't really help.
Oh, and that was where we got all our gear stolen.
Yeah, again,
It's all coming back.
that brought us together a bit because
Sounds
we
like
had
a great gig.
yeah
It was
we
insane.
had all our shit stolen from the back of the van by some
Yeah.
some
But what-
Utes.
Wasn't it your first agency gig? I
No.
feel like you've done. Oh, was it
No,
not?
we've done a few. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I've got a story about one of our first ones, but tell that later.
We'll get to that. But yeah, I had my jacket stolen, and you had
Yep.
your bass amp and heads.
My bass heads and a wash bag containing my used socks for the night.
yeah, they stole my water bottle as well. and I
Yeah,
was like, what?
they were opportunist.
They were, yeah.
They just grabbed whatever they could see.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, that was a good gig.
Yeah.
I mean, the gig was good, but then it was kind of a bit of a weird.
Less
Yeah.
gear to load out when you get home, though.
Yeah,
I didn't
literally.
realise until we got to the services about an hour, because I was consoling you about your stolen jacket, going, sorry, mate.
£300 leather jacket. Yeah.
And then we got to the services and I looked in the back of the van. Then I realised my bass head's got no sympathy for you at that point. I was like,
No.
fuck.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was significantly more expensive and important, I guess,
Yeah.
than
Question.
my jacket.
What's the gear
As-
insured?
Lesson learned there.
That's it, lad. Okay,
Lesson learned.
we don't
Yeah.
need to delve there.
Do not want to go into that.
Okay, move on.
And as for knowing you, Ben,
Yes.
again, you mentioned Neil, George, but Neil started grooming me from a young age. I think I've
Yeah,
known him
as
since
he
I was
did
about
with me.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
And
he
then
he does that.
Yeah.
after a few, it sort of taught us to be a band, really, sort of a father figure. And then, yeah, after a few years, I think we end up coming to record at a Blacksmith, with my old band. I think we recorded about 6 or 7 songs with you guys.
Yeah, it was a few
over the years.
sessions, weren't there?
Yeah,
I remember. And then we actually did do a gig together, didn't we?
we did. Yeah,
For our friend Russell, who solo project Martha's Man, doesn't gig often, but when he does, he gets a band of sessions in and got you on the old bass for that. We played a little festival in Alresford.
yeah. It was that was a lovely day.
It was quite good actually, yeah. And I think what bonds us all is a love of the office.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
think it's kind of, I don't want to say 90% of the conversations we've had, Josh, have been text from the office, but
I'd like to say 100.
if you're counting, so don't,
So.
you know. But
It's scary. I thought I knew the show well, and then I met you two, and I was like,
George, did
way
you
off.
find it's worn off now? But when we first started WhatsApping, like when we
Yeah.
became friends, after there was a pressure, like
Yeah.
an unrelenting pressure to say what you were trying to say in an office quote.
Yeah.
To the point where I'd spend like 20 minutes writing one line of a text.
Yeah.
Think of something funny.
Literally. Yeah. Because I could, and it felt weird to text you normally. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we've
I
got to
feel
that
like-
point now, but it's sort of like, nah.
Well, I feel like with Ben, for the first 4 years of knowing you, I don't think we had a proper conversation, you know. And then we were like, "Hey, how are you doing?" It's like,
yeah,
"Oh wow."
not good, not good. Actually, I'm depressed. So,
Quick, back to quotes. Back to quotes. Yeah,
I
there's
prefer a
there's
plan. Good, right?
Yeah,
We're off.
yeah.
Good.
It's not
okay.
into the real
For
world.
the day. So Josh, yes, you play with the 505s, a wedding band, on the same agency as the bands me and George are on. You've got your studio,
Yeah.
but you're currently in the process of you're still working full time.
That is, yeah, I think as far as agency bands go, I think it's quite unique. I remember both Neil and the guy who runs the agency saying like, oh, what, they have jobs? So Sam is the singer of the band. We played pubs like weekends for probably like 6 or 7 years. It's still always the same lineup. Now our drummer left. He was a bit of like, he was just sort of like, I think he was a postman. Don't know if that's relevant, but he was.
Starts.
Yeah, so we did that for years, and obviously I knew Neil through the Originals band, and we were recording at your place, and he said, he said to me and Dave, the drummer, would you be interested in some like wedding stuff? He actually mentioned it to Dave years ago, and Dave was like, nah, because he is, he's a tight drummer. Yeah, then a few years later he asked us, then he sort of said what you could earn. It was like, yes, open with that. So yeah, and then he said, do you know a singer? And it just so happened I was playing the pubs, and then it happened that way. And I think when Nick came to see us and said, yeah, these guys are fine, wanted us to do like 1 million gigs a year, and we sort of said, oh well, that we've got jobs. So the midweek ones were kind of and I think we've got a bit of a reputation for being like avoiding gigs, but just because we haven't got the taken holiday off work. But yeah, so I sort of semi-professional musician, I guess. So I have a job, but yeah, one day I would like to sort of take on the studio full time. And, you know, I know you guys, like, you sort of prop up what you want to do with the weddings, right? That's
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
guess, you know,
it's a necessary evil, but it's also fun, right?
yeah, it's that hard thing because, you know, I sometimes have the conflict of, well, if I go and do this wedding, then it, you know, and let's say it's got an acoustic set in the afternoon, or it's a, you know, a long distance away, then that means, well, that's a day I can't potentially do a recording session, and it's both of those things tend to be weekend focused. So it's that way up of like, well, I can go and do this wedding, and it's essentially just easy money, and probably a lot more than I would get doing the recording session. So you have that sort of internal, I guess, that sort of struggle of doing both things. But you're totally right. Doing the weddings takes the pressure off running the business, because it's like, well, I know I can earn, you know, you look at it like, well, I can do 7 gigs in a month. It's essentially 7 days work, and that will pay for my whole month. So it takes the pressure off the studio. So you can say sort of, yeah, it definitely sort of props up being able to you know, to do that sort of thing. And I've mentioned before on here that when I left PlayStation, it was a very big decision to jump to leaving the full-time job. But then it does give you the freedom to then go and do those midweek gigs or take on more gigs. And it's that balance of, you can only do so much doing both. When do you take that sort of leap? And I guess you're getting towards that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in my 20s. I'm nearly 30. So I guess that's a bit of a crossroads in life. And yeah, I like my job, and it's like got me where it's got me, and it's enabled me to be able to start the studio, you know. Like, yeah. But there's a point where I think, am I going to look back and think, yeah, I've loved doing that, you know, working for a big company my whole life. And yeah, I'm at that point now where I'm thinking, it's a sort of, it's kind of jumping in at the deep end. There's no real, I can't sort of gradually do it. I can't go part-time, or maybe I can, but I kind of have to think, right, I've got enough work lined up for the next 6 months, whether that be weddings or whatever, or working in here, and then just go for it. So I think I'm sort of in the process of that. I said to you guys, sort of trying to pick up dep gigs where you can. That's sort of, I think that's a big step for, I guess, most musicians, like where you can pick up extra work ad hoc, can't you? If you're, yeah. But it's also, it's kind of still a new thing to me. Like that one gig played with Martha's Man, and I've done a couple where I filled in on bass for like pub bands and stuff, and it's all right. But that's almost another job, isn't it? Being a dep musician as opposed to being in a function band. It's its own thing, because you've got to be fairly adaptable and, you know, gel with people quite quickly. So
yeah. So your wedding band, George has dep for you.
Yeah, he's kind of our main man now. Yeah.
Now I've heard on the grapevine that you guys are quite picky about having deps or using deps. And I know, you know, I completely understand that. Is there a reason why?
I think, again, because we're that not quite full time, and we played pubs for years. I think we're probably over invested in the way we play. You know, like if we wanted to scale back what we did and just play the songs, then we would, like, we're all capable enough to put on a good gig and just do it. But I think we sometimes have maybe thought too hard about it. We both play through like ridiculous amp setups. I played 2 amps on my bass, like Sam plays with his. So we try to make it sound as big and full as possible, and we kind of like do loads of different versions of songs. So I think, and George, we'd probably back up on that line. Like we've got a few.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, from my perspective, it does seem like is, in terms of a band, like a function band, is the best one I've ever played for. I'm not just saying that because you're here, but it's like, you know, all the other ones, it's sort of like, here's the songs, we play them exactly how it is, that's it, you know, just learn the songs and play it, you know. And then the function band can become like this machine where it's just like people just come in, they go, here are the tracks, you know, and there's the demos, learn that, turn up, play it, that's good. Whereas the 505s, it's like, I mean, especially the first set you play, there's parts where it's like, we're just jamming, you know, and it's just like, there'll be like a solo that doesn't, I don't really know when it's going to end, but people are like enjoying it. And I, you know, I'm not of like a core member, but I can see like, there would be almost like a kind of worry of like, well, we can't just get anyone in and just say, hey, we're playing this song, because your versions of it are like, you know, so different. And I think it's also from playing, I guess if you've got a band that you've been playing with in pubs and stuff forever, and it's like, it's us three, and then suddenly it's like, oh, can you get someone else in for that gig? And it's a bit like, whoa, like, but I think I'm sort of in between, because I feel like, you know, Ben, you know, you've done it for way longer and you understand like depths, and just, I think maybe it is that thing of, you know, you go, let's just take the gig and then worry about it later. You know, Neil does that more than anyone I've ever met, obviously. He just goes, you know, he's taught me to do that. Just take the gig and then worry about who can play it and who can do whatever. Whereas you guys kind of go, you know, hang on, wait, if we're not all on it. But I think that, it's probably a mix of, just from what I can see, of like, one, you have full-time jobs, so it's not like, I need the money. It's kind of like, well, it'd be cool, you know, and then, but also, it's such a, I remember joining for those few gigs the first year, like 2019, and just being like, this is a cool band. Like, this is a tight thing, you know.
I think we could probably both, like the singer and I could probably both benefit from depping and like, I guess just playing with other bands and going, actually, because I know just from having conversations with you guys where I almost want to do that, turn up, not worry about it and leave. Like I want a few of them where I can just go, I can bring one bass amp and my bass, set up, play without thinking about it and leave. But I think we almost put too much effort into, and that's not trying to like inflate my ego. Like we just have always tried to, I think we still have fun with it, probably because we don't do so many. And then that has led us to stop wanting other people coming in, because we have to like.
Well, obviously our attitude, because myself and Neil, you know, a lot of us, we really rely on the wedding income. It's foolish to turn down gigs. And, you know, I remember back in 2014, like both my bands at the time were, you know, the agency was still quite fresh. There wasn't that as many bands as there are today. And we were, at that time, you know, I think Decade had 59 gigs that year and Victoriana had 56 gigs that year. And obviously I can't do all of those because a lot of them are on the same day. And for us, it's like, well, you're not going to get this, you're just not going to have your original lineup for every gig. It's just impossible. So we have to take the punt on depths, and sometimes, more often than, you know, 98% of the time, it's fine, you know. But because we had so many gigs and we need so many depths, we were like, we've got to keep it simple, and we basically play the song as the original, because we're just churning gig after gig with slightly different lineups. And then obviously you get your preferred depths and you're like, yeah, more than happily have them again. And then you get the odd one where you're like, I don't really want them just because they didn't do their homework, or, you know, things like that. So, and I think if you're, you know, I filled in for, you know, lots of other bands on the agency, and it's eye-opening, because you get to see even some songs that you play all the time. You're like, okay, well, these guys do it slightly different, or they do this, and just playing with other musicians. And then more often than not, you get asked back, you know, they go, yeah, you did a great job, we'll have him again, and they see it. And I think if you're switching to that sort of, going more sort of full time with the studio and the gigs, you know, opening up to being a dep, and even not necessarily opening your band up to deps, but being a dep and taking that punt, and it's a lot easier than you probably think.
I think it is, like I said, I think it's just a mindset shift, getting away from it being this sort of big show and just going, this is a job, like trying to approach it in, you know, streamline it.
And you probably definitely enjoy it more, like the fact that you don't do as many as many gigs. you know.
Yeah, that's probably a big bonus. And I know it's. I've spoken to Neil a few times that he can't understand when we do turn them down, and I don't want to. I want to do as many as possible, but then there is a tip-off point with that where I'm like, because it's my weekends and working like Monday to Friday. Get to the summer when you think, like a couple of years ago, I think I had like July where I was like every weekend, and they do you in, don't they? Like when you've got a sort of 4 o'clock start in the afternoon to drive somewhere, and you don't get home till like 3. You're a bit like, that's the weekend gone, and then I'm back to work. But
yeah,
there'll be a shift at some point, and I'll be just as miserable as gigs.
It's all about
you are. Yeah,
it's all about the hunger.
Yeah,
and it's the hunger for the sweet dollar.
Yeah, it's the dollar bills, y'all.
Yes, I'll go to Cardiff again. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, while we're on the subject of wedding gigs, have you got any horror stories, Josh? Any terrible gigs you've ever done?
Yeah, I've got a few. I mean, one of them getting my stuff nicked. That was pretty shit.
That was pretty bad.
Fun gig. But I remember one of the first ones. I've told this story a few times. I don't know if I've told you guys. I think it was probably my second or third gig. It was fairly local. It was in the New Forest.
Classic.
In the south. Yeah.
Minstead.
Classic. Yeah. So we're talking middle of nowhere. And it's sort of a big log cabin. You guys might have played there before. And we had I think we had a contact on the day, which was the venue organizer. And I'm going to name this tale because it's about him mainly. He was Australian. So we we called him todile Dundee.
I thought you were going to say his actual name.
I don't know his name. I think it was Simon.
Good.
It was Simon.
I'm going to say his name, his full name and postcode.
Pretty sure it was Simon because it was just fuck off, Simon.
Yeah.
So from the moment we arrived, and George, and I think you've seen the van as well. We used to drive around in. My dad works for a charity that was for like vans for old people. We had this van we managed to blag for using for gigs, and it's got Ferrum Community Action written down the side. It's got a disabled ramp on the back, and it was ratty. So we used to go to gigs in that, and it was so we turned up at this like muddy car park, and he like ran. He was like cargo shorts and like one of those. He looked like Walter from the Big Lebowski, like a sort of gilet on, like functional clothing. He's like, "You're at a wedding, mate." And it was just already that set the scene. Like he just sprinted over to.
Did you instantly think cunt?
Yeah, you just look. He was a walking cunt, and he just like park over there, and just like, oh god, he's Australian as well. Like, oh, it just made it even worse.
Amazing.
And so we had to park in this really specific place, and he was like, we had to reverse in. I don't know, in the event of a fire, I don't know. So I was like, well, our stuff's in the back. He's like, you can load out there at some point. So anyway, he kind of fucked off a bit. We did the load in, and then this was our first Sound Limiter gig as well. So it was open to a new world. I think we've probably got a bit of a reputation for that as well. I think we hate those. I'm sure everyone hates Sound Limiter gigs.
Yes.
So, and it was 87, which seems like I'm probably doing that now, probably talking. And he had one of those big like recorder things. So we were like, okay, how do we go about this? And we played the quieter song, and he was like, that was 92. And we're like, okay. He's like, play it again. And we're like, right. So we played the song again. He's like, it's 89. I'm like, oh, please. So anyway, by the end, he got a recording at 87 or something, and we were like, and then I went to get changed. This is just a sort of series of events. I went to get changed, and there was these sort of horse boxes, and they said that was our green room. Opened the door, and there was a woman.
There was a horse
with her breasts out and a baby suckling on one of them.
Amazing.
And I was, and she sort of went, what? And I was like, we're supposed to be getting changed in here. And she just sort of looked down at her tits, just went, so just sort of slowly closed the door. And I thought, it's bad, bad to us. But then the best bit was we were playing the first dance, and it was Elvis, Can't Help Falling in Love. Terrible song, yeah. God, yeah. So I was at this point already.
How fucking original.
I'd learned it in the van. So I was just like, I had the chords on my phone on the floor. And then they just started dancing. and Cunter Dundee comes back in from the back of the room. I'll stand back from the mic because he's like, "Could the owner of a white Ford Focus please see me immediately?" And it was like right in the middle of the first dance.
Amazing.
And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then he like shouted it again, and it was like, okay, so someone's blocked someone in, but he was obsessed with the car park. And I thought, and even the bride and groom, you could see him go like, "That's the first dance ruined." On the wedding video. He just had he was such a stickler for the rules. And then the best bit, he practically tried to cut us off at one point because, again, still naive at the time. We had a smoke machine trying to put on a good show, put the smoke machine on. He sprinted from the back of the room, shorts on. And it was like, "See those curtains? I'm going to have them dry clean now." And it was just like, "Oh, fuck off." There was an open fire in the room. Fuck off. And so by the end of the night, I think we were just like, that was the sort of first time I realized that there's just wedding organisers are dickheads. There's always one of those. But it just went from bad to worse. Yeah.
It's quite often actually where you're the client should provide us with a green room, and it's usually to get changed and just hang out when you're not playing, and often it's just not possible. But it's amazing how many times they're like, "Oh, we've got you a room," and you go in,
some woman with a tit out.
Yeah, and that's the cloakroom / breastfeeding room, and you're just like trying to. You're just in there getting changed, and in comes, and you're like, "Oh, is this weird?" Yeah. Okay.
I've been in my boxes once, and this was a different one, but it was the glass storage, and it was the end of the night, and they were packing up, and this guy came in with like a box of glasses. I was in my pants. He looked at me, and just carried on like loading the glasses in. And the drummer was like, "Do you mind, mate?" Like, he's like, "I have to pack up," and I was like, "Well, I have to get dressed. Go away."
Amazing.
That was that's probably, it just stuck out with me because the guy was just such a prick.
We've been asked to play in a first dance, and the venue manager comes in through the side door while we're playing. "Excuse me, can you move your car?" What?
Yeah.
Little bit busy here, mate.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's just no awareness to what's going on.
Job's worth, isn't it? It must be a shit job. I mean,
yeah.
What?
But some of them take pride in being a total cunt.
Yeah.
They have this like power trip. You just see them like, you love telling me off, don't you? Yeah, you love getting your little microphone out and telling me I'm playing.
They probably hate that we're earning the same money, but just for them, but they're there for God knows how long, stressed out of their nut, and we just come up. And I think as well, though, I think people get burnt, and then they have their backs up.
Yeah.
In not just wedding venue organised, but a lot of things, and there will be weddings where the bride and groom will book a shit amateur band or sort of semi-pro band who, then they're mates, or they're a band they saw at the pub and it's cheap, and they're not there for the money.
Yeah.
They're there because they like playing music.
They want to get pissed and show off.
Yeah, so when it's like, we've had it, just to let you know, guys, there's a strict all live music off at 11:30. Yeah, don't you worry about that, love.
Yeah.
Don't you make it 11 o'clock.
I'm in the van.
Yeah. Honestly, say 10. That'll make me happy. Like, I don't want to be here. Just to guys, just to let you know, you've got to get all your gear out. And we had everything out in like 6 minutes. That was quick. Yep. I want to go home.
Yeah. I think that's it. They've got the memory of the worst band in their heads before it even starts.
And you're
they're
them.
Like, and they're like, they're going to be like this. And it's, it's not the case.
Yeah. Anyway, right. We're going to take a little break.
Nice.
And we'll be back in a bit.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.
And we're back.
Welcome back. We are here with Mr. Josh Rowe. Row your boat. Row it all the way to the shore. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that was even more energetic than the first one.
Yeah,
which
I'm
was
quite
sort of
hungry.
Scary.
Yeah, I'm quite hungry.
Quite hungry.
That's why I did it. Yeah.
What, eager to finish?
It's never
this?
not funny though, Row Row Your Boat. There's not many
No.
other ones I get, but
No.
always had it, always liked it. Really makes me feel relevant.
Someone once changed my name from George Pickering to George Fingering at school, which I thought was the best one because people would always.
Is that the head teacher?
Yeah. On my first day reading through the names of the register, George, you'll be called Fingering. No, because people used to try and do a play on words with picker, like pick your nose, shit like
You could
that.
do prickering.
Pricker, yeah, exactly. I'm sure that was done, but someone just went Fingering, and I went, "That's good. That's good."
Did you have
Rolls
any
off the
nicknames
tongue.
at school, Josh?
Eczema boy.
Eczema boy.
Yeah,
I had like really bad eczema in primary school. Less of a nickname more than a sort of long bout of bullying. But the only one that came to my mind was eczema boy.
Under nicknames, you put Eczema Boy.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
So
Ben?
that's no, it's always been just Winto,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Mainly because
Solid, isn't it?
in my primary school, it was such a small primary school to the point I think there was only 16 pupils in year 6 when I was in year 6,
That is small.
and my brother's year had even less. I think they only had like 10 or 11, to the point where when I was in, I think, year 5, they actually combined half of my year and year 6, and we just did lessons together. But out of the 16 of us, there was another kid called Ben in my class, so it was easier to separate us by calling me Winty or Winto. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And I was always annoyed.
Yeah.
There was another Ben. I was like, what? This.
Well, at my school, there was another George, and he was the most popular kid. So I was instantly like George 2, and I was like, fine. I don't care.
My best friend at primary school was called Josh, which was weird
Oh.
when we went round each other's houses because he'd
Yeah.
be like, Josh. We're like, yeah.
I like how you had a
Not
deep
friends
voice,
anymore.
even at primary school.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Josh.
I don't even have a deep
age
voice
6.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to primary school
Let's.
and.
Not
This-
literally.
No,
Not as
no, I
30-year-old
don't.
men.
I'm banned.
Yeah. That'd be a safeguarding issue.
Yeah, George, how is teaching?
Yeah.
Is that why you had to go online?
Drum coach online, not a nonce.
Vetted.
Yeah.
Great tagline.
So is that where you first started learning?
Yeah, the old Frere Jacques on guitar at sort of the age of 5. Yeah, I haven't really had an awful lot of musical education,
Ooh.
and it's a bit of a regret of mine. So yeah, it started when I was 4 or 5 playing guitar. I did that for like.
Why did you choose guitar?
I didn't. I think it was like, at that age, you're just like told to do something. And admittedly, my parents weren't ever pushy with stuff. And I think I'm going to hold them to account. So I was all right at some sports, but like they were always like, if I didn't enjoy it or didn't want to go, they'd be like, that's all right, Whereas sometimes I think I probably could have done with that. Like, no, you've got to go, you've got to do it, you've got to practice. Because that might have served me better in later life. But yeah, so they picked my dad loves music. Like that's probably where got it from. His dad was in a band, so I think he was always quite envious. In fact, my dad was a drummer when he was a kid, a shit drummer. He said he could only use his hands. His feet were kind of like he sort of couldn't work out.
It's half the way there.
But
Yeah.
my granddad was a blues drummer in a band called the Smokestacks, which is funny enough where we got the name from the studio. So yeah, I think Dad always wanted me to, or like his kids to be musicians because he couldn't
Classic,
be one.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
shit, so you better be good.
Yeah.
But I think probably just
My dad
started-
played trombone.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
You played your dad's trombone. Oh,
Well, I did actually, not in a sexual way.
not his rusty trombone.
Degraded.
Yeah.
My mum listens to this. Hello, mum.
Sorry, Mum. Yeah. So I lessons. Yeah. I just didn't get on. It was classic primary school. It was just like finger picking on a Spanish guitar. And it was like I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got to about, and I had a guitar then. I just did the odd lesson at school, but didn't really get into it enough. And it wasn't until like 12, 13, when you start listening to like rock music, like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I think probably similar to you, George, when Arctic Monkeys' first album came out, I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
that. I just get in pre-YouTube. I remember like going on their website every day,
Yeah.
and just watching the video to View from the Afternoon and being like, I want to be in a band. I want to be in a band. So it
Yeah,
was kind of a
literally.
bit too late at that point, because I could have just, if I'd have been doing lessons and
But I'd argue that as much as you say like you regret not doing lessons for that whole time, I think if you weren't enjoying it, then you weren't going to do it. Because I started guitar when I was 10 or 11, but at that age, it was like, it wasn't my parents having to be like, you should go and practice. It was just, I was just practicing, because it wasn't even practice. It was just like, oh, this is a new band I've not heard. Let's learn all their songs on guitar and it was like an obsession, you know? And I think even if you had those years from like age 4 to 12, like it wouldn't have been, you know, if you were just learning like finger picking stuff, like it might have made you a better player. But I think you need that at that young age. Because yeah, I've said, you know, I've taught students who are too young to understand music, and then they like learning it to a point, but it's not because they're liking the music. It's almost like, oh, this is, you know, some children are like, oh, this is a fun challenge to do. But yeah. So what age were you? So, you know, when you started getting into it and going, and was it still guitar or was it bass at this point?
well, bass was an accident, really. I think I started.
Always is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, those who cannot play guitar play bass. Yeah, I started picking up the electric guitar. I think I got one when I was like 12 or 13, like some horrible starter kit thing. But then started listening to rock music at that point, so I was starting to play. And then I think it was in like year 9 or 10 at school, so I would have been about 14. And yeah, like friend in class, I remember we were just singing Holiday in Cambodia by the Dead Kennedys. Don't know why that song in particular, and decided we should start a band.
Yeah.
And he played guitar and he was pretty good. And he was like, I played a bit of guitar. And he was like, oh, one of us needs to play bass. And we just flipped a coin. That was it. That is how I became a bassist.
I love
genuinely.
Nice.
Because I never played guitar again, pretty much.
What was that? What was that band called? Did you have a name?
Yes. And we did our first recording at the age of 15 with Neil. We were called the Marmalade Miners.
God, that's good.
Abysmal. We had, we recorded with Neil at that little thing he did in Paulsgrove.
Yeah.
£8 an hour. Remember that? It was 24 quid for 3 songs. That was sort of Neil's.
Amazing.
I don't know if that was Neil's level at the time, but yeah. And so yeah, it wasn't until that age, and then I was like, oh, cool, I'm really into this. But I sort of gave up on lessons and I sort of just taught myself bass. And
Well, why do you want to do lessons now? That's not me pitching to you. Online.
I think going back to what we were talking about in the first half, like just having a bit of not a renaissance, but a bit of a tipping point in my life where I'm like, I want to do this more, and it's my passion. And I think I've always known that music's been my passion and that I've wanted to do stuff with it, but I just want to be better. And I want to feel, you know, it's not necessarily like I've been taking piano lessons, not necessarily because I want to be a pianist, but because I just want to just broaden my horizons a bit.
Yeah.
I never did music at college. And I, again, maybe should have, because I did film and television, which is just sort of, no, it's a DOS, but it was all right.
It's just, you know, it's
Your
your parents want to make sure you at least do, you know, one of either math, science, English, or film and television. One of the main core subjects, just to, you know, really give yourself a foundation to build on.
Yeah, so I think now I'm just thinking I want to be better and just. But I'm finding like it's stuff I know or knew, and I'm just sort of reinforcing it, and then just to give me that little bit more confidence, so that because like, we were talking about depping, I think I don't need to have a diploma in the piano to play to dep bass for a covers band, but just to feel more confident with stuff. I think it's like picking up things on the fly. You know, I've listened to your episodes about like drum sheets and stuff, like cheat sheets, just being able to make things easier for myself, really.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. I'll say.
Go on.
No, go on. You go.
I was going to say, like, I think having that, you know, understanding that is slightly out of the, I don't want to say comfort zone, but out of your, you know, so yes, you're a bassist and that's what you do, but having that little understanding of, other things that are going on around you will make you a better bass player.
Mm.
And I think, my classical music and the trombone has definitely enhanced my drumming and being not necessarily the drumming itself, but being a drummer in a band, because I have the understanding of the sort of theory and harmony and awareness and playing. It all goes into one big melting pot of knowledge. Yeah. And I was advised early on, because I knew I wanted to go to music college, you don't have to get great at piano, but just have some lessons, because it will help you. And then I can't really play the piano. I did my grade 3, but it just gives you a basic, I can, and it's going to help you in the studio as well, particularly.
Yeah.
Just having a bit more of an understanding of the piano and how it's sort of what you can get out of it. And
I just think there's definitely been times over the years where I've maybe played with other people in the past, or people I'm not familiar with, where I've gone like Jesus, am I shit? Not I can play, I can play fine, but even people having conversations, and I just haven't ever had enough of a theory knowledge to be to feel confident joining in with that, or understanding it. Yeah. So whereas now I've been doing piano lessons about 6 months, just things that I've heard and have probably learned in a weird way are starting to click, and it just that like I say, I do regret not starting early, but it is what it is. So yeah.
Well, I think we all want to learn more as we get older.
Yeah, and I think COVID was a good one for that, because I did have a bit of time, and I was whereas my only practice would be a rehearsal and a gig, I pick the bass up at home or whatever, and I just want to play for an hour every now and then, and that makes you better, doesn't it? 2 hours a day is what you're supposed to do or something, isn't it? Never
supposed to, yeah. I would say it's interesting, the difference between drums and bass, because I get what you're saying about not feeling confident enough, because obviously with drums, I had lessons for years and I studied at university and stuff, and it's I feel when I'm on a gig, if something goes wrong or something, I feel there's so much knowledge that I'm just this is fine, you know what I mean? Not even in a kind of cocky way, but just a kind of, I remember a drum teacher talking about if you're doing a gig that's this level, you want to be higher, way higher. So if something goes wrong, it's you're fine. You don't want to be just at level to do it. Whereas when I've played bass gigs, I feel I am literally just at my absolute limit of knowledge, And we had one gig, Ben and I, last Christmas, and I don't know what happened to this day. We were playing Seven Nation Army, which is the, classic, easiest song ever. And I was playing it in E, and Neil starts going, no, you're playing, I'm playing it in F, go up. So I had to go up a note, and that threw me off so much, because suddenly I'm having to play the riff one fret up for the whole song, and then I'm going, right, it's usually a G, so I've got to go to one up, and it just, whereas I felt if something like that happened on drums, I'd be oh, this is fine, and I feel that is partly, from not having lessons in bass, or not having someone go, here's some things, just the knowledge. And so I get what you mean about starting lessons, and as Ben said, with piano, I feel piano is the perfect one for
it's kind of the one, isn't it?
Theory
ties it all together.
Yeah, definitely.
So you were in the Marmalade Miners.
Big time.
3
songs.
And that was school age. That was school. Any subsequent shit band names?
Big time, yep. Yeah. Capital Fuzz. Yeah, I was in that band for 10 years. And we picked that because that was the sort of that was formed out of the ashes of Marmalade Miners. Joe, who's my mate from school, was the singer. He was I'm not, don't want to do this. We had one gig, and he was really good. He probably should have carried on, but he just gave up. He was I don't want to play guitar anymore. Dave was the drummer. We've just been drum and bass for years now. And then load of people at school knew we were in a band. They're oh yeah, we want to join. Again, that's how old that band was. We started it in school, year 11, and then picked Capital Fuzz as a name that stuck for 12 years.
Where did that come from?
Someone said Blur was a good band name, which it is. So they thought Fuzz was a sort of another way of saying blur.
Yeah.
Not really sure I get that. And no idea where Capital came from. I have no idea. It doesn't
I
mean
like
anything.
it. I think it's a cool band name.
Yeah, it sort of grew on me, I guess. But
Yeah.
it was also at the point where you've done it for so long, so it doesn't matter really. Like,
No.
you know, I've said before, Arctic Monkeys is a shit band name, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you don't
Green
think-
Day.
Yeah, Green.
If you
don't
think about the name Green Day, like
I think
that's
a lot, so many bands you think, and when we were choosing the trying to come up with a name for the Dent Act, you know, I knew I wanted it to have a little bit of like comic booky sort of reference, but not too sort of obvious. And so me and Mike just had this shared document with just loads of things. We were like, just whatever it is, write it down. And that one did stick out, but it was like, I mean, yeah, I think it's good, but it's also awful.
It's always going to be worse than another potential.
But
one, isn't
after a period of time, it's just the association
it?
morphs it into a thing, doesn't it? So it becomes intrinsically linked with the music and the band, that it's just what it is.
We were at a point where we were thinking about changing it, but right around that point, the singer got it drunkenly tattooed around his nipple for a $5. It's bad, like it's wonky. So he's just got this sort of wonky capital Fuzz tattooed around his nipple.
amazing.
So it was like, can't really change it now.
I think you should definitely change it at that point, just to
Yeah,
annoy
just
him.
to get
the next
sorry,
day.
mate, already changed. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes, look
But-
at that, and you go, oh well, we've changed it to, don't know, whatever
Also,
the opposite of capital Fuzz.
The predecessor to the 505s. I hope Sam doesn't listen to this, but if he does, I'm sorry. But we were called Fat Cat for years, and I hated it. I didn't hate it. It was what we were.
Yeah,
And because he had a fat cat, and I used to go out with his sister, and
Was that awkward?
met the cat. And it was fat. Dead now. Sad, but
because it was fat, or is it just?
I think it was an old fat cat,
Yeah,
but it was Fat Cat with a K. So a couple of times, I think that did
and a
come up a
PH.
cropper when there was a cat in the audience, a Catherine. You're thinking,
Oh yeah,
and see a little logo on the drum kit. It's like, what? I'm not fat. Well,
I don't
you
know
are,
if I
love,
can-
but it's not about you.
Speaking of that, I don't know if I can tell this story. Might have to cut this out. But a friend of mine once did a gig.
Cut
and he-
that.
A friend of mine once did a gig, and he was depping for this band called like the Mental Cases or something. But they did a gig, and it was a function for people with special needs.
Oh,
and
gosh.
apparently every gig they do like this big intro, and would be like, "We are the Mental Cases. Are you all feeling mental tonight?" or something like that. And he like turned to the band and was like, we're not doing the intro. We're not doing the intro, because everyone was like, you know, in wheelchairs and stuff like that. And it was just like, we can't.
That was the turning point for them, that they didn't, up until that point, they hadn't thought it
Yeah, I
was
guess
weird.
so.
They thought,
Well,
actually, guys.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
we
so,
probably
maybe
should
it
do
wasn't that on the nose, but I remember it being like, he was like, we can't do our opening intro thing because it will be so offensive. But so I wanted to go back to music in turn. Oh, fucking hell, let's start that again. I want to go back to instruments you've played. You know,
Yeah.
guitar, bass, piano. This is a drum podcast.
Yeah.
Have you ever played the drums?
Well, when Capital Fuzz first formed, we were quite lucky in that my mum and dad got divorced, and
Lovely
had
stroke
a-
of luck. That's a lovely stroke.
yeah,
of luck.
because dad had a model railway room in the garage, because he was a
Amazing.
bit, probably why she left him.
not a happy home life.
It was great, like little model railway out in the garage, but obviously he left, so that went. And I was like, Mum, what were you using the old room in the garage for? Because it was all sort of like boarded out, plasterboarded, insulated,
Yeah.
had a door and stuff. So we'd just started the band around the time of the old divorce. So that was a practice room, and Dave, the drummer, didn't have anywhere to leave his kit, so it was set up in there permanently. So when I went to college, I think like obviously college hours were like all over the place. Quite often in the daytime, I would just like go out in there, play drums for like 3-4 hours, because I find it's one of the only instruments it's so, once you start practicing, it's so fun to play because you can just smash the shit out of it for
Yeah.
a few hours. So yeah, I did that for a few years, probably against his will, because probably didn't like me playing his drums and cymbals, but you left him at my house, mate.
Yeah,
What am I going to do? Sorry, Dave, if you hear this.
So did you ever play a gig on
Yeah,
drums? You ever done that?
Yeah, so I started jamming with my friend Ryan. We did started a little 2-piece.
Nice.
He just plays with loads of amps. And I think we were doing a Capital Fuzz gig in a pub, and we didn't really have any support. So we said, oh, we'll do it.
Amazing.
So we just set up, and I was like semi-prepared. So we played like sort of half-hour, 40-minute set of a load of shit songs we wrote.
Wow.
Played drums, loved it though. Never really got the opportunity to do it again.
Was he singing, or was it just like?
Yeah, he was singing.
Jams?
It was just
fair.
he played through a lot. It was cool actually. We probably should have carried
Probably
on.
what inspired Royal Blood.
Well,
Yeah,
I was gonna.
think
That's
that-
what I was
think
gonna
they
say.
were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Actually, now I think about it.
Oh, cool.
But I don't think they could do what I do.
I think that I could do what they do. Probably what spurs them on. So I've played drums. I can play most instruments to a shit level.
You're putting yourself down. What
And
I
then
like
I'm
about
all
you,
right at
Josh, is your bass just tones. I think I wonder whether this comes from the fact that you didn't get any sort of education. It's the first time I played you guys.
Love that at all. Just
At
none.
all. Well,
Just
do you know what I
none.
mean?
The
But I
divorce
think there's-
happened. You locked yourself in the garage. and
No,
you-
but you kind of, the way you play bass, like the effects you've got and everything, it's just so chaotic, but in a good way. And I think maybe if you've been to uni, and I feel like music uni can kind of like,
George, do you regret university?
I don't
'Cause this
regret
feels
it,
like
but
you're-
but I was saying it's almost like, I think there's that brilliant sweet spot where it's like when you're like, you know enough to be creative, but you haven't gone to a point where you've learned so much that you sort of, I don't know, I've heard people say this about like bands who like write their best music when they're like 20, and they go, how did they write that album when they were 20? And it was like because they knew enough, but they were still like taking risks. And like when you play bass, you're like bringing out some mad sounds and shit, and I'm like, whoa, what is he doing? Whereas if you kind of perhaps, I don't know, had a formula education for 3 years, you might be a bit more like,
Well,
you know.
So I don't disagree with you,
No.
but I was chatting to a friend the other day, and I think actually some of that comes down to just being young.
Yeah.
Because you know, I remember being in 3-Day Bender, you know, like joining at 16 through to sort of 21, and that period of being at sixth form and being in a, you know, a good local band, like, because we didn't have anything to fucking worry about. We had nothing to worry about. We were, you know, we parents obviously took you know, we lived at home and we didn't have to worry about bills, didn't have to worry about washing and all that sort of shit. So you just have freedom. You just have creative freedom, don't you?
Yeah.
Like with your time and your efforts. And now it's like, well, I want to be creative, but, you know, I've got to take the cat to the vet or something. You know, you just
So
get weighed down, don't you? And then you start understanding politics and the world, and you're like, oh God.
You think that that affects like how you are as a musician?
Well, I think your priorities have to shift.
Yeah.
They have to shift because if you know, it's like going back to the wedding bands. It's like it's not about being creative for me. It's about earning money,
Yeah.
which will help me pay to do other things creatively. But even then, it's a constant battle of, well, I'd love to do that, but I'm not being paid, and I kind of need to do something that is paid. And I think you just gradually get weighted down by the world, you know. But when
Well,
you're
thanks.
younger,
That was
you got.
Drum and Drummer.
But when you're younger, yeah, obviously, like you can just sort of do what you want, and there's
Yeah.
just kind of quite a lot of freedom with that sort of thing.
You don't
I'll
care
say
what people
that's-
think about you as well.
Yeah,
No.
but I would say that's why I like playing with you, Josh, and the 505s, because it is like, it sort of still has that feeling of like being in a band when you're 18, rather than like, this is a function band, we're all dressed smart and let's play to the charts. It's like, this is fucking, we're just jamming for 2 hours.
Going back to what you were saying about my bass tones and stuff, I think probably on the back of not educating myself rather, and not feeling insecure about playing, but maybe just not being the best bass player. And also through not going to college and having a job, or going to uni, had the money to spend stuff like money on pedals. So it's like, all right, you might have a degree and look at you, you're really good at it. Mine's louder, mate.
Yeah,
It's just sort of like, it was kind of like that. So find other ways to sort of make it, you know, to make it sound
It's like what
better.
the Edge
And
did in you too, isn't it? Just
shit guitar, load of pedals.
loads of fucking pedals. Pop me on the big
Loads.
stage.
Yeah. I haven't quite got
little
to the point where someone presses them for me, but I'm close.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Bring them to
Yeah.
weddings, not my fluffer.
Imagine that.
Get in
We
the
talked
van.
about that before. Ben and I have said that, like, I think Ben said about the idea of me being his drum tech for a wedding gig.
And
you
fluffer,
turn
let's
up-
be honest.
And fluffer, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But
I
it's-
arrived by
that'd be hilarious.
helicopter
Yeah.
10 minutes before the first dance. Play it at 8. It's happening at 8. I don't care if you're ready or not. It's happening at 8. Set, little bit of food, set, off I go in the chopper. Cheers. While they're still
There you go.
applauding. I'm sort of laddered out. Just a ladder drops down. I grab on and I just float away into the night. Thank you very much. Pack that away, George. See you next week.
Yeah, exactly. What would be funny is in that scenario if the rest of the band still is just treating it as a wedding gig and they all have to drive back and it's like, why is he in a
Well, there's only enough
helicopter?
money for one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't helicopter everyone.
I was just looking at that at the breakdown of the payment. It's like 100 to him, 100, $4,000 helicopter hire for Ben. Like, where did that come in?
So, are you playing in a original band at the moment?
Yes, yeah. Again, really should broaden my horizons, but some of the members of Capital Fuzz, we've now formed a new band. I've always played with the same drummer, other than George. I've played with like 3 drummers. That's weird. Just quickly, like the relationship between bassist and drummer, but I've that's sacred to me. But come back to that in a sec. But we're playing in a band called Villain at the moment. I'll give you a link. You can put that in your
Yes,
We will
definitely.
do.
and I have a gig this Friday, and George happens to be on the same bill, which is
Yep.
a lovely turn of
Lovely.
events. I found out
Okay.
yesterday
And
as well.
this would have been last Friday.
Last Friday,
Yes.
yeah, correct.
We
yeah.
had a gig last Friday.
We had a
Wasn't
gig.
it great?
How great was that gig? Oh, do you remember that time when
George fell
something
over and his
happened?
pants fell down.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that happens? Yeah, and then George
Well.
bought me a car
Yeah.
stuff, but you've got to do it now because it happened.
Oh, yeah. You can have my purple car. It's falling to bits.
He was helicoptered out of the gig after his set.
Yeah, by Ben's helicopter that George bought him.
Well, my dad was in the Navy. I'm sure they got a helicopter I can borrow for a bit.
Say it like it's just his like his.
Well, I've
He's
been
got
on a
spare one.
submarine.
Was in it?
So,
Well, I've been in a tank.
Was it the
If we're gonna-
submarine
good.
that's on land
it's
in
cool, isn't it?
Gosport? Because
No.
I've been in that one. I've
no,
been on a real one.
it was
Show
an
off.
active. It was an active submarine. Yeah. So
Anyway,
just,
the gig.
Yeah, the gig that was last Friday that was just really great.
Yeah.
It's
Is this your first gig with the band?
no.
Was that your first?
No, actually, the first official gig. I think. Yeah, we play this private festival every year. We have done for years, and it's this guy. It's over in Chichester or something. It's always a laugh. It's like a weekend thing. We loosely play it, but we have played. But since we've had the studio, we've had a space to write and record our own stuff, and
Yeah.
it's weird coming at it from that way. We used to do all our writing and practices, maybe you record something on your phone, but we're always writing in a different way now. And we've sort of been kind of prolific with it recently. So me and a drummer will sit down at the computer or whatever and program some drums and write something over it. And then we sort of flesh it out in practice. And we've written like maybe, 10, 15 songs. And we're just, oh shit, we got quite a repertoire now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm excited to hear because I haven't heard any of your stuff yet.
Yeah, we
and it's
released the
like-
track the other week. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. no worries. I'm saving it. I'm saving it for the gig.
I'm joking.
But no, I mean, even I heard when we did
saving
a
it for the
505
gig. What a
rehearsal, I
cop
remember-
out. No, I'm saving it because I want to give it the
Saving
respect
for the
it
gig.
deserves.
I don't want to fill up too soon on.
You
all
scrolled
the
through
music.
and you scrolled on past. Nope,
Yeah.
not for me.
Well, I'm very excited. No, I heard Sam talking, and he was talking about. He's like, oh, I've got this mad effect. I'm going to try and write a riff, and then we can do a song about it. I was just like, this is an interesting, like, cool back. Like in terms of just sounds and stuff. I know it's going to be like mental, but in a good way. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking your mad bass tone, Sam's stuff. You're all great players. Like,
And it's in
yeah.
a church, which is quite
It's
cool.
going to sound.
Or was in the
mental.
church. Yeah, it was in the
Oh
church.
fuck it! It's pre-recorded. It's gonna sound mental. It's like, yeah. I'm genuinely just glad that you're the other band on the bill because this band I'm playing for, Ren, I literally only met them last night, and so I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know anyone. But if you're there, it's like,
Yeah.
fucking lads are here.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
the band I'm playing for are going to be like, God, George is well popular. He knows everyone. I'm going to be like, yes, I do. I'm sick of saying it. But no, this should be a good gig. And it's right next to your
Yeah.
studio.
And it's exciting. So yeah, doing some original stuff, doing my Walks for Men cap.
And just briefly, obviously your studio. How long have you been? How long have you guys been open?
Kind of a torrid time, to be honest, because we opened January 2020, which was 2 months before a little thing called COVID. So we had 2 really good months. Like the rehearsals, we took on the business from someone who owned it before, rebranded and stuff.
Yeah.
So we had like a really good. We were sort of making money from the get-go, from the rehearsals, and we had a couple of recordings lined up, like friends and stuff. And then it all closed down. So yeah, it was a bit shit. But we used the time over the pandemic really to sort of bring it all up to snuff and tart it up the way we liked. And so yeah, since we reopened, it's going well. Like,
enjoying it?
Yeah, loving it. I mean, I love letting bands in late at night and hearing their great music. It's great.
Awesome.
That was yes.
I didn't know. I didn't want to come.
No, you know what it's like, Ben.
Yeah.
Yep.
You both know what it's like.
Yeah. It's
The
amazing
constant-
how many bands are awful.
The constant
I've heard
smell of
bands-
feet.
Well, this is
I
the
heard
thing.
one
This is
band
the
trying
thing. We make our money from the shit bands.
Yeah.
Because they come back every week.
Coming back.
Yeah. I heard a band trying to play, what's that song? Somebody.
Smash Mouth.
That.
Is that Smash
They
Mouth?
tried to play it for 3 hours and they couldn't get it right after a 3-hour rehearsal. And it was 3 hours of playing that song. And I was
Too
just
long,
like,
baby.
yeah, way too long. It's awful.
Just put your head in. If you want to book another hour, because I think you need to
Yeah,
keep
literally.
working on this. Because
Yeah, quick drop there. If you want to rehearse because you're shit,
Yes.
please rehearse at either of our studios. If you're in the Gosport area, this one. If you're in the Portsmouth area, that one.
I like where
Exactly.
your studio. Have you been there, Ben?
I have not. No.
No.
It's cool
No.
because it feels. It's kind of you feel like, am I in the right place? And then it just there it is.
There's you feel like being led to somewhere someone's gonna torture me,
yeah.
possibly rape me and kill me.
Well,
Yeah.
that's Gosport, isn't it? That's the.
That's as you're coming in
that's
on the
just that road.
A32.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get to the studio.
Yeah.
We're in a really big industrial building and we're like
Yeah.
right in the middle of it. So noise isn't a problem, which is always good, but we don't have any external access. It's a bit funny building, but it's been a studio since the like 80s or 90s or something.
Wow.
And it's changed hands various times over the years.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool. We're sort of just finding our feet still with recording and like our sound and who we want to record. Like, but it's cool being that in it from the ground up sort of thing. You know?
Yeah. Well, I got a quick question. How much does it like? What's your balance of like full-time work and the studio? Because I don't fully know what. Yeah.
I mean, it's a labor of love for all of us. Like, other than Ryan, who does the majority of the production, we don't take any money from it, which is why we're still working.
Yeah.
So it's mainly evenings. We're quite
Okay.
lucky here in that we can leave the key with the bands and they can lock themselves up, which does save us a few hours, sitting around. Because I think if I was giving up my evenings for nothing, sitting listening to some band trying to play Smells Like Teen Spirit for 3 hours, I'd be like, probably be.
So is it
George,
like-
George needs to practice. So
Exactly. So is it like you'll do 9 to 5 at IBM,
Yeah,
and
then-
to the studio.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I suppose putting in the work now, hopefully it means at some point I'll be able to take some money from it. And
Yeah.
it's good because
there's do want to do.
there's a few of us.
keep up the doodling. Keep up the doodling.
Never give up.
Little sketch of George. Go. Well, we'll put links to. Just remind me of the band name again. The original band.
We're called Villain. Wanted to be called Villains. Too many bands called Villains, so we spelled it in a French way.
Villain and
Smokestack Studios.
Smokestack Studios.
.com.
.com. We'll put links to all that sort of shit. And,
That'd be lovely.
but yeah, been lovely chatting to you, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's I've listened every week. It's great.
Good.
You're very funny, guys.
Don't stop.
you.
Please keep talking. Doing us praise.
Lovely.
I nearly bought a bald cap because I did feel conscious
Oh
about
my
it.
God, can you
Because I thought it
imagine?
would have been. I should have. Should we re-record it tomorrow? Nah.
Yeah. Well, we could do if you had a ball cap and we did the picture because have we done a screenshot yet?
No.
We always do a screenshot where
Well, let's
everyone's
do a
like,
screenshot now.
I don't know what. Do you have to do something funny?
Dunno, I just
I
sort of-
always, yeah, I always
Just
look
whatever,
ridiculous.
innit? Yeah. Let's all do that. I can't. I'll do what. Fuck it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Been lovely talking to you, mate.
Mm.
And good luck with the piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep up.
See you,
the piano.
see you Friday.
See you Friday. Yeah.
But
In
also,
the past.
yeah,
See you
Also
last
saw
Friday.
you Friday. Innit? Good
Yeah.
stuff.
All that nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Rock and roll. Sweet. Cheers, Josh. We'll see you
Cheers,
later. mate.
cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So there we go. That was our chat with Josh.
Josh Rowe. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope
Good
it was
fun, wasn't it?
informative. It was good fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice doing these guests.
Yeah, I think what really interests me about Josh was actually, he classed himself as semi-pro,
Yeah.
but he does a lot of pro work. But actually, how sort of open he is about that, he didn't really do much musical training,
Yeah.
and in this stage, latest, approaching 30, like he still wants to learn more.
Yeah.
And he's actively taking steps to sort of improve himself as a
Yeah.
bassist and as a musician, which is very admirable.
It is admirable, and I think it's that feeling of it's the opposite of arrogance. It's not going, oh, I know it all and I know enough to gig, so I'm just going to leave it there. It's going, no, I understand there's gaps, in my knowledge.
Yeah.
Not even to say there are gaps, because that was quite interesting. It was sort of, I quite like the almost, I hope you don't mind me saying, but the vulnerability and sort of saying, I don't feel like I'm the best bassist, so I have pedals and I have this and that, and it was that feeling of, yeah, I didn't go to uni, but things like that don't matter. Think of all the musicians that never went to university and stuff.
It doesn't have to matter.
No.
Like I'm a do recording, mixing. I never studied this
No.
shit,
No,
but
exactly.
I did study music.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's got a journey, and
Everyone's
it's
got a
slightly
journey.
different, and it's good finding out, what people, how do they get to that point? That's what we're here for.
There is.
Right,
Here we go.
it's time for Tom of the Week.
Tom of the week.
That's a lovely, lovely time.
This week's Tom of the Week is...
Drum roll,
It's Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Loki.
Weird. What's right? Okay, so
Yep.
Tom Hiddleston.
Sure.
I always see him on everything. Everyone's obviously seen him do that impression of De Niro on Graham Norton. Have
Yep.
you seen that? That
Yep.
was like just the balls on him to do an impression of De Niro to De Niro on telly is just insane. But I can't think of a single thing I've seen him in. Do you know what I mean? He's one
Yeah.
of those actors like Robert Downey Jr. Maybe not him. George Clooney. George Clooney, massive Hollywood star. I can't think of a single film that I like that I go, oh yeah, that's a George.
Ocean's
Clooney film.
11.
Never seen it. I
Gravity.
haven't seen a lot. Never seen it.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Never seen it.
ER.
Never seen it. I've seen E.T.
Ocean's 12.
Never seen it.
Ocean's 13.
No, never. This is what I mean. I'm aware, like Tom Hiddleston, the same.
From Dusk Till
Clearly-
Dawn.
Nope.
You must have seen From Dusk Till Dawn.
Nope.
Mate, that's a great film.
Yeah, I haven't seen many things. It keeps
Yeah.
life exciting because
Batman. He was Batman for a bit.
Yeah, I
George
didn't see-
Clooney was.
No. I didn't
Anyway,
see
this
that
isn't
one.
George of the Week.
No.
This is Tom of the Week. Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, I mean, most people know him as sort of Loki, innit? I think he falls into a category, though, where he can be easily confused for someone else. And there's a Sam Fassbender, and I think I get those two mixed up quite a bit.
I think I jump him in that pile of posh, charming British actors. So like Benedict Cumberbatch and who's the new one? Who's dating Zendaya?
Tom Holland, previous Tom of the Week alumni.
Exactly. He's getting in that gang as well. There's sort of like a general gang of lovely, well-spoken British actors who, sort of all in that gang. Looks like a nice gang to be in, you know.
It's the Marvel gang, isn't it?
Marvel gang, yeah, exactly.
If they ever need a fat bald man with a beard, I'm in. Get me in. I'll do anything in it. Yeah, just pop me in a Marvel. But yeah, Tom Hiddleston, Mr. Loki, the God of Mischief.
Yep. Congratulations,
This week's Tom of the
Tom.
Week. Congratulations, yeah. And,
Your medal's in the post.
I just wonder whether this stacks up against dating Taylor Swift. Who knows? Could be on a par.
Am I thinking of the right guy?
Probably not.
He dated Taylor Swift?
Yeah, apparently. I think there was a
Wow.
photo of him on a beach wearing an I Love Taylor Swift t-shirt, and he was with Taylor Swift.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's quite a bold move. He's quite a bold man, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But well
Cool.
done.
Well done, Tom.
Well done, Tom.
Right,
Congratulations.
time to venture into the drum dumpster.
Oh, let's take a good old rummage around the drum dumpster and see what we find.
You sent me something. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm opening it now.
Yes.
WTS drums.
Right. Now,
Talk me
I
through
saw
this.
because there was some sort of custom snare drum,
Yeah.
some drummer, and I saw the picture and I was like, what is this? It should be WTF drums.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. So these drums, a custom drum company, right? WTS, yeah, and it's the Welch tuning system, and it's a single point drum tuning. And you look at the drums, and we'll put a picture up on the Instagram.
Yep.
So basically, you've got the lugs, but you know they're attached to the hoops. But then every lug is connected by a wire.
Wow.
Both
yeah,
sides
I'm
of the
looking at it.
drum, and then there's just one single like key on a sort of cog system, and you just turn the key,
That's
and
amazing.
apparently a system of pulleys and cables bring both heads into tune with the turn of a single handle.
Wow.
No tension rods and no more drum key. I mean, it looks...
I'm watching it now. That worries me a little bit. No more drum key. Because what if you forget your specific different drum key at a gig and then can't, take a skin off? But
No, but the key's built in.
Is
the
it?
turning thing's built in on the side of the drum.
oh yeah, it is. Oh,
So you
okay,
don't
that's
need
cool.
I mean, you still need a drum key for everything else.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
kick pedal and all that sort of shit. But
That is cool.
it's like a weird sort of it's almost like a steampunk
Yeah.
drum kit with pulleys and cogs and shit.
I think it's surprising that hasn't been done before, because that always seems like, I'm sure people, everyone's gone, oh, it'd be great if we could just turn these all at once. But someone's found a way to do it. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Or it could be a classic Dragon's Den. Oh, it hasn't been done because actually it's shit.
Well, there's the question. Would you have one?
Well, I'd love them to prove me wrong.
Yep. It looks like shit. Please prove us wrong.
Prove us
WTS
wrong.
drums.
I mean, I'd love to, have a go on one and see. I mean, is it just making tuning easier? Is there anything sort of better about it? Does it?
Well,
The fact that you're tuning both skins at the same time, is that a good thing?
Yeah, I'm starting to see problems because I remember, I've seen drummers tune their snare drum in particular in a certain way where you can perhaps tune the bottom lugs looser and then the top lugs tighter to gives it kind of like a fatter sound. Like there's little ways you can, so I guess it loses that sort of element.
Yeah,
if you
because I've
can
heard
experiment.
you don't want the batter and the reso head the same pitch because that's going to create lots of
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, there's a snare drum on here, mate. $1,200.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me of? This whole thing reminds me of, I know this isn't a guitar podcast, but I remember Gibson bought out a self-tuning guitar, and apparently that was almost like their, the end of Gibson. I don't know if you remember, but you just
I've
strum
seen that.
and it tunes
Yeah.
itself, and it looked cool, but instantly everyone was like, this is the stupidest thing because it adds nothing to, maybe it's a case of it adds nothing to actual musicianship. You know what I mean? Like no one was learning how to tune a guitar if you have one that tuned itself. Maybe it's a bit like that. It's almost like you're not learning how to tune a drum if it's just one key in it.
Like a spell
I don't know.
checker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just got a spell checker. You don't need to learn how to spell.
No, exactly.
But I mean, these drums look.
Does look
They
cool.
do look very cool.
Not to completely, discredit them.
No. But yeah, I'd never seen it before. This sort of
No.
weird pulley system tuning thing. And I think they're saying one benefit is that these sort of pulley loop things, like they're not attached to the shell. So basically there's less holes drilled in the shell. There's no lugs sort of drilled in, glued on. But they remind me of like a marching band snare. I don't know, for some reason they look like a circus drum.
Yeah.
But fair play.
Yeah.
I mean, the blue kit. There's a blue kit, sparkly kit that does look quite nice. The Epiphany series. Yum 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 yum. Just all yours for $1,900. Yum 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 yum. But
Yeah. Well, we'll put it on the Instagram.
Yeah.
But,
and go check out our Instagram.
yes, because we haven't promoted it in a while.
No,
At
so go.
Drum and Drummer podcast.
Yep. And send us an email at drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Get in touch.
Yeah, get in touch.
Get in touch. Got any questions as well? Have you got any questions you'd like to ask us about our careers, what we do, or any advice? Could we give you maybe some advice on your career or anything to do with drums?
Yeah. We are
'Cause,
the agony aunts of drumming now.
The two bald agony uncles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe you need advice in hair loss. Maybe you're a young man and it's going, advice, shave it off. There you go. Next.
Shave it off. Skull shaver. Next. Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But, so get in touch. Find us on those on the Instagram and send us an email. I hope you enjoyed our chat with Josh.
Yeah.
And we are back next week with, it's fair to say, a pretty darn special guest.
Yeah.
We've just finished actually. We've already recorded our chat with him.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute honour and a pleasure. We're not going to reveal who it is just yet, but we felt very privileged to be able to chat to him.
Yeah.
And we had a really good conversation, so that'll be coming out next week. But yeah.
Cool. Right.
Bye, George. Yeah.
See ya.
See you later, mate.
Bye.
Bye.